Hi, class of 2020. It is hard to believe, but we are at the point in our semester where you only have a few things left to do for senior sem. And I know a lot of you and your parents have had questions on what senior boards is potentially going to look like if we're still in distance learning. So this video is going to outline the full scope of the remaining things you'll need to do in order to pass both the senior seminar class and your senior boards. Because in the words of Justin Timberlake, it's gonna be me. That being said, we're trying to be as flexible as possible. Remember, our goal is to help you graduate. Okay, so in our last update, we discussed the senior project and the requirements surrounding that. So you are still having to do your 15 or more hours of your project, but as we talked about before, your project might look a little different. So it might be the exact same thing. It might have some modifications. Some of you are adding in some adulting or life skills. Some of you are just focusing on adulting or life skills. And some of you might have a completely different project that you had approved. Whatever it is, we're still working towards finishing those 15 or more hours. In the next 2 weeks, your senior seminar teacher is going to reach out and schedule a one-on-one conversation with you to talk to you about where you're at in the process and to review all the remaining things you'll need to do in order to prep for boards. So let's take a look at the calendar and what we're working on these next 2 weeks, because guess what? You actually really only have 4 more things, and then you're completely done with your senior project. So the next 2 weeks are all work time for you to finish up the remaining 3 things that are going to go on your eFolio. And let's break down what those are. So the remaining things that you're required to finish up on your eFolio are going to be your project log, and this is where you're going to track your time spent, the specific tasks that you worked on, and a total hour summary. Your project samples, and this will be photo, video, audio, tutorial links, or other evidence of your project learning, the stages of your project, and your completed project. And then finally, your project memoirs and self-evaluation, and this is a reflection on your entire process. The description for each one of these assignments is located under our week of April 20th to 24th and April 27th to May 1st folder. And you can see the project log, project samples, and memoir self-evaluation here. Together, those 3 things make up the eFolio checkpoint number 4. So let's go over each one of them in a little bit more detail. As I said, the project log is where you're going to write down specific tasks that you accomplished and the amount of time that you spent on each task. So we would like this to be typed, and your log can look a couple of different ways, but we do want these specific things on here. So we want the dates that you worked on stuff, the time that you spent, the specific tasks that you accomplished or worked on, and then an overall total hours. So you have 3 options for how this could look: a weekly chart method, a calendar method, or a journal method. So here's an example of the weekly chart. We have at the top the total hours spent on this project, and then they've broken it down by the day and the approximate amount of time, and they use bullet points to talk about what tasks or descriptions they worked on. In this calendar method, they made it into a table that looks like little calendar boxes, and they've included each date, the time on that date, and the specific things they learned or did on that date. The last option you have would be the journal method, and this is just writing the date, again the amount of time, and then a brief description of what you did on that date with your project. Please remember that we want the total number of hours spent at the top of each of these project logs. The next thing for you to be working on in the next couple weeks is the project samples. And remember, this is some sort of evidence that shows off your project or stages of your project. So this could be audio, visual, it could be something interactive, it could be links. So here are some examples of samples from last year's eFolio. So this is Martha Mennings, and you'll see she has videos that she actually created, and she also has pictures of what she was doing while creating her videos. On Gabriella Stobbs, she's got pictures of her at her actual lab station. And then if I look further into her project tab, she also has actual pictures of the slides that she created at her project. Connor Kelly's examples or his samples were screenshots of the program that he was creating and hacking in his Android device. So there's a bunch of different ways you can do these project samples, but we're looking for evidence that shows you were working on this project process. The third and final thing you need on your eFolio is your memoirs and self-evaluation. So we're asking you to reflect on these questions. You can type them in a Google Doc or you could type them directly into your eFolio. But now that you're done with your project experience, we want you to summarize and reflect on the process by answering these questions. So those are your only 3 remaining things to do in order to wrap up your project log, some samples or evidence of your project, and writing your memoirs and self-evaluation. Now you might be saying, Goose, you told us there were 4 things. The 4th thing is your board's presentation. So let's break down what that looks like. If we are back on May 5th, then you are still going to get from now until actually May 8th to work on those 3 items for your eFolio in addition to your board's presentation. And when we come back to school on the 5th in our senior seminar classes, we'll go over what a board's presentation could look like and show you some examples. Then the next couple of weeks would give you a chance to have a dress rehearsal or practice giving your board's presentation in front of your senior seminar class and your senior seminar teacher, who would grade your presentation and give you some feedback so that when you go in front of your actual boards on May 27th, you rock it. Now, one thing we are going to change is that we are going to require your board's presentation be 3 to 5 minutes. So that is a change, 3 to 5 minutes, and hopefully that takes a little bit of your stress off. Now, let's say that we're not back and we are distance learning for the rest of the school year. How do senior boards work? You are still getting from now until May 8th to work on those 3 required items as well as a board's presentation. And we'll go over what your board's presentation will look like. And again, we'll still show you some of those examples. The actual board's presentation is going to be scheduled between you and your senior seminar teacher anytime that you're comfortable before May 27th. And this would be done via Zoom. It could be Google Meet. You could do a phone call. Any way that you can present your learning and show off your project log, your samples, and your evaluation and your memoirs for your teacher is okay. We're still asking for roughly 3 to 5 minutes, but our main goal is seeing what you learned in this process. I know this is a time where everything is really uncertain and we don't want to add more stress. So know that we are trying to help you graduate. We will do everything we can to help you, and that means we'll be flexible with this process.